Elegance in language has gone. People do not talk like they used to. The idea popped up in my head when I heard someone from Gen Alpha speaking, and when I heard him, I couldn't understand a single word. The words felt empty, quick, and soulless, and lacked what this video is about: elegance. Today we'll be discussing what is missing from our everyday language and why this happened. The biggest issue I have spotted is that people take less time to develop full words. If a word is too difficult to actually say, they just skip it and replace it with a shorter word. Words like though, most people spell it THO, but the full word is actually THOUGH. There are many examples of this, but the first point is that language is now optimized for speed rather than clarity. This is of the result from texting, social media, short form content, and in rare cases, character limits. People try to optimize their words so that they prioritize efficiency of expression. For example, people do not say "I regret to inform you," they just say FYI. And there are many examples of this. These days, speed is more important than actually communicating. The biggest issue, I reckon, that why language is the way it is right now is because of attention spans. People these days do not want to talk fancy or elegantly. They do not want to use full words. Instead, they want to opt for simpler vocabulary, shorter sentences, less nuance, and more direct language. Complex expression can feel inefficient in environments for quick consumption. And I believe this is the main reason why people use shorter language. Now, I will address this before I continue. Using fancier words does not mean you're smarter. And it does not mean anything, in fact. It just means that you can specifically say what something is using the appropriate words. Some people just use one word for every scenario, but there's a better word to describe exactly what you're feeling or exactly what you want to talk about. People these days use generic words to just fill out their sentences, just to quickly communicate what they want. Obviously, with the rise of technology, letters are now irrelevant. People used to use elegant language because they were writing letters instead of posting emails. But even in emails today, we do try to use fancier language, but to no avail, because most people write simply. However, with letters, there's like a risk. And even with emails, but not so much. You choose your words carefully, and you develop ideas before you write. And you write it with style. With direct communication that we have nowadays, these all are not as relevant. But emails do need a more advanced vocabulary so that you sound more professional. You cannot use lol in an email. If you're emailing to someone that you want help from professionally, you can't do that. So people still need to use more elegant words when they're writing emails. However, that is exactly the problem. Most people need to look up a dictionary when they write an email so that they get their words right, because they're so desensitized to using those type of words. Another point I want to make is internet language prioritizes function. Online communication is optimized for speed and emotion. Obviously, like I said before, lol, bro, FR, which means for real, memes, reactions, and all that type of shit. When you use these type of words, immediately I understand which type of person I'm talking to. And honestly, these type of words are very, very overused, and I think they are disastrous to language. Recently, I've seen the new gen version of these type of words, such as TS, which I believe means this shit, but I'm not too sure. And there's a bunch of others, and honestly, it is just a lot of garbage in my opinion. But there's also like words like aura, crack, mog, and the way they are used, that there were words before that were much better in my opinion. With the change of language, they are slowly becoming more and more brain rotted is the correct word. Another thing that has changed is reading habits. Many people read less long form literature than what previous generations did, and this has caused us to shorten our language. People used to read more books, and thus they had larger vocabularies, complex sentence structures, and more expressive writing. But nowadays, most people don't read books. In fact, most men don't read books. I have seen more women than men read books. But that is exactly the issue. Less exposure to books can influence everyday speech, and thus our language sounds more poorly optimized. Now, I will say the opposite, that some people might say language is not dying and the elegance of it is not, it's just evolving, it's changing. But honestly, I am going to counter argue that and say, no, we're just becoming dumber. We are being pushed certain language to speak so that we can understand each other. And this type of language is very poor. I do recommend to anyone that doesn't read books to pick up a book and just read. I mean, the reason I am even talking about all of this is because I myself am writing a book, and I realized how my language is not that elegant. It is difficult for me to use more advanced words, and I've actually had to sit down and use more advanced words so that I can write a better book. And I realized that when I did this, most people don't speak the way I'm writing. But if you do want to speak how I'm writing, which you probably haven't seen any of my books yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Maybe I can make videos like this, similar topics. Comment down below if you have read a book and maybe I'm making a mistake. Obviously, books that you learn in school do not count. Some people might say we still value elegance, and that is true. When we hear a great speaker or somebody speak in a more advanced format, or you read a book actually and see the words that are used, you actually value that elegance. But here's the thing, you don't use it yourself, you just witness it being used by others. And I still believe that is an issue. The fact that you can witness it, you do witness it, but you don't use it yourself. Instead, you go for the simplistic language. I suggest anyone who is watching this video and doesn't believe that elegance has died in language, go to literally any live stream that you see on Twitch and have a look at the chat. You'll be pulling your hairs out. I mean, that's how I realized that elegance is dead. In fact, go to any comment section in any video and you'll see that people don't know how to use words anymore. That used to be an art, forming sentences, being able to speak in such a way where you could make certain people understand and some not. And that was the whole point. You wanted to give volume to your words. You wanted it to command respect. But these days, words don't command respect. In fact, they do quite the opposite. When you hear someone speak with those type of words and that type of language, you don't respect them because they're just like everyone else. And that is exactly the issue. But with that being said, I will say this. The elegance of language didn't vanish. It lost its place in everyday communication. In a world optimized for speed, clarity won. The question is whether something valuable was left behind. And I believe that when we talk about vehicles, speed kills. And I believe this is true even now for language. I believe miscommunication is at an all-time high because we do not specify exactly what we want. And this is a big issue. But I don't know, guys. This is just my opinion. Let me know down in the comments if you have a different opinion, if you want to counter argue what I said here today. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya, chads.